Episode 202 of the TV News Podcast, recorded September 27th, 2018. Netflix, and chill the fuck out!
So how'd you guys like the homework this week?
Dude,
This may be the most TV we've ever watched in a week.
it was intense.
There's some weeks where I see the list and I'm like, oh, I got to watch all these seasons, and then it's just a couple episodes of each. That was not this week.
We watched, there were 7 seasons of television this week. That's a season a day.
Yeah, I don't envy you guys at all.
Randy, there was a point in time where you would have us watch, or, I think we would agree upon, watching 3 hours of television and discussing that.
Yeah.
We would watch 3 shows, and we would just discuss those 3 shows, and it was 1 hour each. And now we're doing whole seasons because
Simpler
it's the
times.
binge era, and it's fucking killing me.
Well, and the thing is, this wasn't my idea. This sounded awful to me, and I had a busy week, but they released all this stuff within about 3 weeks, and the fall network stuff is coming up.
This
there
was
is
not
no break.
my idea, says the guy who makes our schedule.
It wasn't my idea.
Well, it's a simple concept. Anything that we skip now, we just can never come back to.
That's exactly right. Anything we skip now, we are not doing. And there was all stuff I wanted to check in on. Well, mostly stuff we wanted to check in on.
A lot of...
I'm checking on that.
Some of it was kind of shitty.
Yeah. Listeners, we have a lot of shows we're discussing this week, but we also have a special guest here in audience with us, our listener and friend Marvin Lanier.
Woo!
Did I say it right?
Yeah, you got it.
Lanier.
You're in
Yes.
town for Fantastic Fest?
I am. I've seen so many movies.
He is...
your schedule for movies is my schedule, or your schedule for TV shows is my schedule for movies.
Right. You and Les have been covering the fest this week.
Actually, I met Les yesterday. So
Yeah.
we talked a little bit. So it was cool.
Cool. How's the fest been?
Oh, it was great. It's in today, so today was the last day of it. But
What?
It was fantastic.
Okay, for any of you listeners who don't know, Fantastic Fest is this festival thrown by the Alamo Drafthouse here in Austin, Texas, and it is about fantastical horror and sci-fi and super genre niche crazy fucking movies, international, that they pull in. Yeah, they pull in all these movies from all around the globe, and they screen them here either early on or to a wider audience here to get people exposed to a bunch of crazy films. And you got to see, I'm imagining, a ton of movies here this week.
I saw about 28 to 32 films somewhere in that area.
In how many days?
Damn.
8 days.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of movies. It's a lot.
I'm curious, what were some of the standout movies you saw?
There was a one from 1985 that really stands out for me. It's called Deadly Games. It's about Les will probably talk about this too eventually if you ask him. It's about a movie about a kid who is home alone in a giant mansion. Mm-hmm. His parents are rich, or his mom's rich, and she works at a toy store, or a toy factory. And he truly believes that Santa Claus is coming
to town.
No, I was just gonna say, pull your mic a little closer.
He sees you in your story.
She truly believes.
I'm not going to edit that out. Okay. Just for you listeners.
He truly believes that Santa Claus is coming to murder him. And it's just about this kid defending himself against Santa Claus. It's freaking awesome. It's great.
All right.
I saw some other things that I really liked. Like One Cut of the Dead was really good. It's a movie about a zombie movie within a movie. But the first 20 minutes is designed for you not to like it. You're supposed to hate it, and then it turns a flip, and I won't say what that is, but it's real fun and engaging.
Did you see The Apostle with Dan Stevens?
I did, and I liked it a lot, but I did fall asleep at some point. And,
no.
So
That's not a good sign.
Well, it's just seeing a lot of movies and trying to stay up, and I tried to hit all 5 each day, and that was a lot.
Like, how Les described that movie to me, he basically was like, it's like, he didn't say this, but I got the gist that it's like Cannibal Holocaust in a way of just like gruesome extreme violence, with like going in like out of your element to like some crazy alternate society.
Yeah, basically.
And it's Dan Stevens from
Legion.
From Legion, yeah. And I was like, ooh, I don't want to watch that. No, thank you.
It's actually really interesting, but it is going to be on Netflix, which is another thing that's trying to kill you. So
Yes,
watch
no
that as well.
Why don't they ever say Dan Stevens from Downton Abbey? It was prestige television.
Was he on Downton Abbey?
Oh yeah,
never
he
watched
started
Downton
it
Abbey.
off. Yeah,
Oh shit! I knew he was on
he was
Beauty and
like
Beast
the
and shit.
first guy to leave the show.
And
obviously-
there's no mutants or poop humor on Downton Abbey, so I don't watch it.
You obviously haven't seen season 6.
Mutants and poop humor.
And both. It's season 6. Yeah.
So, guys, I want to say that if you heard our title, Netflix needs to chill the fuck out. That is due to us talking about not 1, not 2, not 5, but 7 Netflix shows that have recently come out, and we tried to devour all of them. I think we had to do a little bit of separation of homework.
We divided and conquered a little bit.
Yeah. But this week we're talking about The Dragon Prince, Hilda, American Vandal, BoJack Horseman season 4. Is this 5?
I think
it's 5.
I think it's 5. It is season 5.
I wrote 4
Yeah.
here, but I was like, that's
It's
5,
season
isn't it?
5.
Iron Fist season 2. I'm laughing already. Atypical and Maniac. And then normally we'd be talking about Better Call Saul, but where's the time, guys?
I love Better Call Saul. I didn't have time to watch Better Call Saul this week.
I have an interesting tidbit for you too. I don't know if you know this, but in Europe, Better Call Saul is actually on Netflix day after.
Yeah. So thematically, it could have worked.
It's all thematic. It's all coming to kill you guys.
Okay. Everything fits.
Yeah.
It's Netflix is really trying to kill us.
And by the way, we already talked about the first last week, which was dropped by Hulu at the same time period, and we're putting off Forever on Amazon, which also dropped in the same period. So they're all conspiring to kill
God.
TV critics.
Oh man.
I'm not going to lie. I've been sneaking some Forevers in.
I saw the first one. I'm excited to talk about it.
How dare you fucking cheaters. Anyway, we are the TV Dudes. I'm Grant.
I'm Randy.
Kyle?
I'm Marvin.
And
I'm not a TV dude.
you're an honorary TV Dude.
Dude, shut up. No.
I was going to try and introduce you, but you were just so on point about like joining in on that. I was like,
I
fuck
listen
yeah,
to you
dude.
guys all the time. So.
Fuck yeah, that's awesome. All right, guys, I'm going to skip all that preamble about like Patreon and Electric Sweater.
Electric Sweater!
But I guess I'll get you guys in on that part. Let's jump into the news. What we got, Randy?
All right. So I was excited about this. I might be the only one in the room, but the Diablo TV show on Netflix is going to be an animated series, and the right has been confirmed to be in the works.
You are excited about this?
The Diablo game was super fun, and their Castlevania show is pretty fun too. So I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
Is it
Diablo-
animated or live action?
Animated.
Okay.
Diablo was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is going to be just like Castlevania, which was not fun because anime is garbage and I hate you, Randy.
So this is funny. First of all, I knew that. Andrew Cosby is the writer.
I don't like any Cosby.
No relation.
Okay.
He wrote for Eureka, and also I guess he's doing the screenplay for the upcoming Hellboy reboot, and is a comic book writer who I knew.
Oh, really?
So I did not know that he was gone on to TV. So that's kind of cool. Comic book writers doing animation for Netflix. I'm on board this kind of thing.
My buddy used to have a roommate who wouldn't leave his room, and I'd ask why, and he'd say Diablo. Do you think the TV show is going to have a similar effect?
He meant masturbation.
Yeah, he was wrestling El Diablo.
That's like El Diablo.
You know the expression.
All that point clicking you were hearing.
This is making a lot of sense.
If Ashley here, she'd go, dick joke?
Also, Netflix news. Apparently, they dropped a teaser for Making a Murderer Part 2, which is coming in October.
So soon.
And it's going to be more about Avery and about Brendan Dassey. And here's the thing. I don't care about Avery because he's a fucking scumbag. And I know what happened to Dassey because I follow the news.
It was a remarkably well made criminal documentary when it first came out. But I feel like once people kind of settled with it, it was hard to necessarily identify with and root for these people as like victims at a certain point, because you're like, It sucks, I guess. If you guys are innocent, it sucks. But also, you weren't like the greatest of people outside of this crime.
I had trouble empathizing with the main guy. Dassey got railroaded, and I felt like that poor dumb kid did not deserve what he got.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And unfortunately, we already know how that turned out, and he continues to get what he didn't really deserve. So I don't care about this.
Yeah,
I don't want to watch this.
It's too soon for this. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like if they had given it a couple more years to see if anything else develops, maybe. But
Yeah.
Yeah, like has he killed somebody else?
yeah, we're in prison or something.
Right. That's part. That's
when you
part
come back
3
for season 2. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because like Serial season 3 has just started.
Oh, I forgot
And,
about that.
The podcast is going through the criminal justice system cases at a time in Cleveland, I believe, and it's kind of interesting thinking about like how the Making a Murderer came out in kind of close proximity to the first season of Serial and The Jinx and like all those just kind of riding on this true crime wave, and I think about like how you could have seen Sarah Koenig take on and try to do more with investigation of the Adnan Syed, I'm saying that name wrong, murder that was in the first season of Serial. But I think it was a smart call, even if the subject matter wasn't great in the second season, for her to kind of move away from that and make Serial into something that could touch on different shows. And I don't think that's necessarily the good case with Making a Murderer that they decided to stick with Stephen Avery.
I agree. And I actually agree with you on Serial as well. Like, the second season was not as good, but I found the story interesting, and I was glad they went to it.
Yeah,
I think
they try to take some risk.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Our final news story reads, and this is not me making fun of it's not me making fun of the Screen Rant headline, although you know how I always love to. This is their headline is Netflix and Amazon planning to double amount of original content. So Netflix has a lot of shows.
Yeah, dude.
And a study has found that they are currently producing over 250 original productions to add to the 229 already released. Now, that's not just TV. That's also their original movies and kids animated series, stuff like that. But that's a lot. And Amazon has over 100 projects to join the 105 currently on the roster. How much TV do they think people watch?
You know what? If it's profitable to them and they can just overtake every other system and programming option, yeah, sure.
The thing is, I'm sure that they're worried about Disney. Disney is going to have an original Star Wars series. It's going to have Marvel series. It's going to have a ton of content.
Dude, Netflix is not already. They don't need to worry.
That's
they're a dominant force.
I think they're worried that they're basically, when all these streaming services start, like Disney and Warner Brothers and all this, that they're going to pull all the content that isn't original Netflix, and Netflix will have to get by only on their original content. But if that happened, don't they already have it? Like,
They have a lot.
Stranger Things, Orange is the New Black. Like, just there's a few shows that people are going to want.
I guess the idea, maybe from their perspective, is we have all this capital right now. We have access to all this talent before it starts getting sucked up by all these other places.
Yeah.
Maybe we just flood it and we really find what sticks from there and we can drop everything else. Like, risk-wise, we can make a whole bunch of stinker shows and just find the pure gold from that and use those for our longevity.
Yeah.
And so, why not throw money at the wall, and why not buy Grant Davis's script that is available if you guys want to read my script for a TV show?
Is that the adult babies or the man who's married to himself?
I incorporated them both into one. It's adult babies that are actually married to themselves. It's kind of weird, but I feel it could work. I have 8 seasons scripted out.
Yeah, it's not weirder than Maniac.
Well, just call Netflix, and Netflix, you're greenlit. Next, do you remember that South Park joke?
They should be hitting me up.
Yeah.
Call me, Netflix.
They don't have to. They're just, I'm sure they're listening.
Yeah.
All right, folks, it's time for us to talk about a lot of TV.
A lot.
And here's how the order's going to go. We're going to hit Dragon Prince, Hilda, and BoJack Horseman season 5, I think. And those are all the animated block. And then we're going to jump over to Iron Fist, American Vandal, Atypical, and Maniac. So if you guys need to jump ahead or back and forth and you don't want to hear certain reviews of certain things, there you go. There's a template. But first off, the Dragon Prince is another one of those kind of animated things that Randy was insistent upon us talking about.
Okay. Have you never watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, Grant?
I did, and I liked it.
Okay. So
This is the same guys, right?
This is Aaron Haas and Justin Richmond. Who
Oh,
were,
if you're such big fans, how do you not know their name?
I know their name. I just don't pronounce it. But they were Aaron was the head writer and director for Avatar. Justin Richmond was one of the creators of it as well. And this is their fantasy where Avatar was sort of Eastern. This is more of a like Western Euro fantasy. It is a fantasy where human elves are in conflict. The humans use dark magic and like killed the Dragon King.
Oh, human elf, so it's Western.
Yes.
As opposed, wait a second, what does that mean about the Eastern ones?
What? What are you talking about?
I don't know. What makes it Western?
It's knights and armor and traditional like magic kind of stuff. It looks like European fantasy.
Game of Thrones ish.
Game of
Western.
Thrones ish, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
They got castles and
Still
shit.
Eastern
They have
Well, I guess-
more button noses and shit.
Yes.
Like Welch's grape juice
Yes.
kids or some shit.
So there's a conflict between the humans and the elves, and it starts with the elves trying to assassinate the king. And the lead characters are the king's adopted son, who's like a stepson, and then a younger kid who's as actual crown prince. And basically, the story winds up revolving around this moon elf assassin woman. And what I see you staring at me.
It's getting more ridiculous and less easy to summarize the more you keep going.
I know. Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
Yeah. And that was the thing. As I got into it, when I started, there's too many characters, and it's the setting. There's like a 10-minute intro to the whole thing, and I'm like, okay, I'm
Is
not
it
sure
a
I'm in for all
hero's
this.
journey kind of thing?
It is a hero's journey. Once it gets going, it's this small fellowship of the dude, his brother, and this moon elf assassin, and they are on a quest.
What the fuck is a moon elf assassin?
What's
a moon elf?
It's a
That's a
moon
great name
elf.
for a cocktail.
Are they elves that come from the moon?
They're elves that turn invisible when the moon is high.
Is this common knowledge?
It is. It
Do
is.
you guys?
No,
do you,
Dude, if I saw an elf go invisible, I'd be like, I need you to kill somebody.
hold up,
This
if you
makes
saw-
sense.
Just stop it if you saw an elf.
This is Austin. You don't see elves every day.
You don't see it now because there's a moon out, dude.
Yeah, that's right. You're always hoping the moon is out. That's why you never see the elves.
Man, always underestimating moon elves. That's my problem.
But once they get going and they introduce this sort of fellowship, it becomes a lot more interesting. And they have this quest, and they do a few of the episodes where they go to like one village, and it reminds me of sort of what Avatar did. It's got humor. The guy who's the head voice is the guy who did Sokka in Avatar. And I found it interesting. Their aunt, who's this female general they meet, she's deaf. And she has an interpreter, and so they don't translate her sign language except for when her interpreter acts. And I thought that was an interesting little element to add in. Like, that's one of those things you wouldn't see in a lot of cartoons. And
Right, because it sounds like extra tedious animation.
yeah, this was really good. It took a couple episodes to get going, but once it gets going, I very much fell in love with it, and I burned through the whole season. And I think people who liked Avatar should definitely give this a look.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'd watch it. It sounds like Disenchantment, but it's actually sort of good. So yeah.
That's a better selling point. Yeah. What if Disenchantment was good?
Yeah, but Disenchantment was
Question
comedic.
mark?
This is not that tone.
So these guys are going to also be doing the live action Avatar here on Netflix. So
No, those are the other guys who created Avatar.
What?
M. Night Shyamalan?
There's
No.
so-
Yes, that'd be terrible. But I see that happening.
Brian Konietzko and Michael DeMartino. See, I knew those names.
So there's 4 dudes who
There were-
made Avatar.
There were a lot of dudes that made Avatar.
So this is the afterbirth dudes doing Dragon Prince, whatever the fuck.
what?
I'm sober. I can handle this. Okay, I don't know. Let's move on.
Yes.
To the next show that we want to talk about, which is Hilda.
Because Grant loves all this anime crap, and he put it on. He made us watch it.
Tables have turned. So Hilda is this new cutesy little cartoon about this girl who lives in this fantasy realm. It's kind of like Gravity Falls meets Adventure Time meets like a Miyazaki
very
movie
much
kind
like
of thing.
that.
Like it's kind of like this nice little hybrid where this little British girl lives out in the wilderness and she is familiar with trolls and orcs and giants and elves. But then she has to kind of move to the main city called Trollberg, and fantasy still exists, but it's kind of a little bit outside of the bounds of the city for the most part. But she's still, now that she is more cultured than the rest of her classmates in the realm of fantastical beasts.
You're right. This is much easier to explain than
She
Dragon
becomes
Prince.
a bit more of an expert, and I don't know. I thought it was kind of charming. As
It is actually
cartoon.
super cute. A lot of it is the animation style. Like, it looks super cool.
The animation style, the color palette that
Yeah.
they use, it's not bright and oversaturated and obnoxious. It's subdued, and
It
it's
does
actually
have that. It has that
charming.
stylization that I associate with something like Adventure Time and not Bravest Warriors, but like Bee and Puppy Cat and all that kind of stuff. Like, it feels like of a piece with those.
Right.
It feels more like a kid show. But it's a really good kid show, and it's the writer on this, Stephanie Simpson, I think. Yeah, Stephanie Simpson worked on the Octonauts
Okay.
and the Arthur TV series.
I've watched plenty of the
I
Octonauts.
figured you had.
My only gripe, because I have to have a gripe,
Sure.
because I'm just a bitchy person by nature. I think that maybe I'm so trained by shows like Adventure Time to expect a narrative like in these kind of animations to wrap up a little quicker.
Yeah.
That the fact that these are 30-minute episodes, they feel a bit bloated to me.
I agree. I think that's true.
I kind of end up finding myself bored because its pacing feels in a way British and slow. I don't know if that's a weird.
It
thing.
does feel British.
It feels British in that these like pregnant pauses just seem to last an eternity. It doesn't seem to have the frenetic energy of something like Adventure Time, as well as just compacting narrative into a 15-minute segment that they would do here. It's just really letting things breathe. And at first I was like, oh, that's nice. Like I can kind of just like fall into the show. But maybe I'm just impatient. I'm just kind of like, all right, let's get through this. And I feel like you could do a 15-minute story where there's a 30.
No, I had kind of the same reaction. I felt like it droned on a little bit sometimes.
Yeah. I feel like maybe that's a little bit of an unfair criticism, but I don't know.
it's really cute and it's really well done.
Another animated show I want to discuss.
Oh, let's not talk about this one.
We all want to discuss.
we do.
BoJack Horseman back for season 5, and this show is one of those best shows of it gets better and better with each season.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
This one, in fact, could have been one of those ones that we lumped in with like The Office and Parks and Rec, with having such a weak first season that it's one of those like you just have to push past it to realize the greatness of this show, of how profound it can be.
And the other thing I love is that it's in comparison with those shows too. It's got a great extended cast. They can also do episodes where they sort of get away from. There's a main story going through. Like, there's always a through line, but they'll divert over and do a like standalone episode, like last season's like underwater one that was so good.
Oh yeah, that was great.
This season, episode 2 is about Diane having her divorce and going to Vietnam, and that was a fantastic episode.
Yeah.
And then we had like the look back at Princess Caroline. We had the
most impressive episode of animated TV I think I've seen in a long time.
which was what?
Churro.
The
churro.
eulogy.
Yeah.
Churro.
The churro. They did a stage play as an animated. I mean, that was a stage play. It's basically he is up on a stage giving a eulogy for the entire episode, and it's one person monologuing, and it was so powerful and captivating.
You know what's amazing though? The punchline.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really good, dark, engaging episode of TV, and when they got to the punchline, I about died.
The punchline is fantastic.
It's so good because you're just not expecting it. It's so good.
The episode was so effective and
Yeah.
powerful without it that like they could have not had that, and I wouldn't have even minded.
But
Yeah,
that's
they
what
wouldn't need it.
That's what I think is brilliant about it, though.
you
is
don't
that
think they needed it either,
I
right?
don't. Yeah.
it was that? But that's what's brilliant about the punchline is like it is a fantastic episode of TV without that, and then they used that because they had your expectations to subvert it at the last minute for a punchline that's hilarious, and it doesn't undercut what went before at all.
It doesn't. And
I agree, but it's not completely necessary. But yes, I agree that it serves a purpose. It
right. But in a way that kind of like perfectly encapsulates what the show is.
Yeah.
Because the show could just be a powerhouse drama that really explores depression and pain and how people cope in their existential crises as they're going on. But
guess.
it balances that so well with the absurdity, with the meta humor, with the layered humor that goes on in the background jokes
and the character humor too. The thing is, I wouldn't watch this show if it was just depressing.
That's
I
true.
would not find any. I couldn't find the joy in seeing it that way.
I agree, but with that particular episode, it was so profound and well executed that I wouldn't have minded if it did it just that way.
Yeah, I know for some people this is a show that I know for like Les doesn't watch BoJack because he finds it really just too dark, and it is dark and real. And for an animated show about animals living alongside humans, it should not be as powerful as it is.
Well,
but it's also
it's not
super
animals
funny.
living aside humans. The animal, it's anthropomorphic people.
But they're still animals. BoJack's a horse, man.
Bed bugs are found in beds sometimes in the little cutscenes.
I also little things like running gags like Mr. Peanut Butter's way that he references things.
Right.
Oh god, yeah.
Like that always cracks me up. I liked
F.
his
Tompkins is so good.
Yeah, he's great. I loved the episode. I think this is the last one I got a chance to watch. I didn't get all the way through it, but I think it was the one where the therapist is like hiding everybody's names, so it's like Mr. Bobo the zebra.
Oh
And it was when he shows up, it's Mr. Hazelnut Spread.
Yes.
And he's dark furred in the flashback. Like that kind of little detail kills me.
Yeah, it's such a good show. It's really amazing. I love everything about it. Like when I know it's coming up, I will just take like a day off and just try to watch as many as I can.
So when you binge it, though, like, do you find like you have to be in a particular headspace for it?
Sometimes, but also I can watch that show like on the background and not get depressed because the jokes do help. The jokes do help separate some of that, the depression, anxiety. But I had not the best life either, so like I identify with it a lot on certain levels.
Right.
So
I also
some
think
of the things just resonate. I mean,
Yeah.
I also like the things like there was the episode the BoJack the Feminist where they talk about sort of how BoJack is the best feminist ever because he's a man. Like they have things to say
Yeah, they
too.
do.
Like there's a point of view to this show, and whether it's talking about like Hollywood culture or drug use or sexual abuse, like it is all covered and done well.
They're surprisingly able to be pretty topical, even when South Park is able to be topical because they're able to crank out an episode within like a week of like current events, right?
Right.
This one is just kind of hitting on particular political zeitgeists that are going on and able to capture what is going to maintain as a conversation and examine that without feeling dated in a way.
Yeah.
And I'm just pretty impressed with how they maintain that and have such a strong perspective on heavy-hitting topics while at the same time having such a zany, immature sense of self-deprecation even at points. I'm like, you guys are making fun of yourselves with your silly humor. You're making characters like Jesse. What's his name?
Todd.
Todd.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
such a dummy.
Yeah.
He's just a
Oh
dummy.
man, the farce with Todd and his girlfriend and the lube
my
just
God.
killed me.
And
And-
the robot.
and the robot,
yeah,
right?
the
Oh
robot.
my god, the robot is so like Harvey Weinstein appropriate. It's just amazing.
I love that the robot ascends to the top echelon of power, and everyone's just like, okay, whatever you say,
Yeah, sure,
we're
yeah.
going to interpret that one way or the other.
Right.
It was just kind of perfect. Exactly. Like
Yeah.
for Harvey Weinstein. Man, I love this show.
Yeah.
And it was a show that I think when I first watched it, I was just like, meh, this is not a show for me.
I still haven't watched the first season.
Oh, you're better off.
I actually like the first season. I actually like it a lot.
One of these days,
don't-
if Netflix will stop putting out 7 shows in 2 weeks,
might go back
I
and
might
watch
go
it.
back and watch it.
I would say this, Randy, if you're the type of person who liked Justified season 1, you might like it.
I did like Justified season 1.
I just wanted to make fun of the fact that you like Justified season 1.
You make fun of me all you want, but I'm right and you're wrong, so
He
that's
also
all
likes
right.
Real Rob, so we can.
No, I don't like Real Rob.
He
I
loves
love
it.
Real Rob.
He loves it.
Me and Kyle
Loves
talking
it.
Rob is taking a lot of time because we want to make sure and get it right, Kyle?
I wouldn't be the man I am today without Rob.
You guys didn't
That's
get those
real.
matching tattoos for nothing.
Yeah, that's right. Mine says talking, his says Rob. We have to make sure to stand in the right order.
We're looking for somebody to get an IN tattooed on their butt cheeks to go in between us, Talk and Rob.
On my butt cheeks?
Yep.
Don't look at me. Also,
Be the middle
you're
butt.
the one that had to have Rob on your arm? You got a bum deal, dude.
It is a bum deal. It's
Oh,
right there on my bum.
No, you're getting the bum deal, Grant.
All right, our next show, we're talking about Iron Fist. Iron Fist is back for its second season, guys. And guess what? They totally fixed everything.
Yeah.
They just fixed it up. And that's why I was not even able to make it past the first episode of that guy's garbage acting.
Yeah, you know
I'm
what's
totally on board for this show.
You know what pisses me off about Iron Fist?
He's got an awesome girlfriend.
No, what pissed me off about Iron Fist is all the people who were posting on their social media about how they fixed Iron Fist, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll check this. Fuck you all for making me have a second of hope that they had fixed this show. They changed the showrunner. Scott Buck isn't running it anymore, but the guy they got to run it is I was looking for his name. He's done a bunch of crap as well.
Okay,
24 or something?
Worse, way worse.
full disclosure. How far did you get, Randy?
I watched episode and a half.
Kyle, how about you?
I watched 3 episodes.
I watched
all the way through.
I watched half of an episode. Marvin?
I haven't watched an episode of any of the Marvel shows since Defenders.
No hoodie
So,
Avengers for you?
It killed me.
So, dear listener, understand this is where we're coming from. If you get angry that we're being unfair, damn straight we're being unfair.
Yeah, here's the thing. It had to overcome, first of all, season 1, and second of all the bad shit that's happened to Marvel Netflix since then. Like, it's the worst of Marvel Netflix. And Marvel Netflix has been pretty disappointing.
You know what? People have said, but Colleen Wing is so awesome in
I
this.
love
And I'm
Colleen Wing.
like, from what I've seen, yeah, she's really good. But you know who's carrying the narrative? Is Iron Fist.
Iron-
Because that's the namesake of the
Wait,
show.
is he the immortal Iron Fist? I forget.
Not yet.
Okay.
He's the unbearable Iron Fist, I think. Ugh. So, I don't know. I don't think any of us can give this a proper review, except for to say, in the first few episodes that we saw, I mean, Kyle, you saw the most. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I was actually trying to remember, like, literally, because at one point I remember thinking, oh, this fight scene's pretty cool, but I cannot remember that fight scene now. Like, the most I can remember is some weird sexual tension with the villain who has to, like, be a honeypot in some, like, blackmail scheme, but can't do it because he's all, like, kung fu and shit.
Think about this. What was the coolest fight scene you remember from Iron Fist Season 1?
When he fights
The hallway
security
scene, right?
guards.
Oh, wait, that's Daredevil. Never mind.
Yeah, it's
When he fights the
the security guards at the beginning. Maybe, well, I don't know. When he like fights security guards.
The only thing I can even remember is when he does this jump up and punches the
That's
floor.
all I can remember,
Yeah.
too.
And
I can't
it was
remember
like
anything
the
else.
coolest sequence that did not belong in a show of otherwise boring sequences.
And it was
I
still
like,
unearned, too.
yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
where the fuck did that come from? If you had that power.
Well, here's the other thing. The Iron Fist looks lame. The Iron Fist
Looks like a
in
glowworm.
comics is a cool power. It has like a trail of Kirby dot energy behind it. Like, fix your damn special effect. Like, you want me to believe that you get Iron Fist? Fix your special effect. I know you're capable of it. And also, by the way, the showrunner, M. Raven Metzner, the guy who rescued it from Scott Buck, his film debut was directing the Electro movie from 2005.
oh, no.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah. That's,
Yeah,
That's not a claim to
so
fame.
that's,
nope.
that's a good one right there.
And then he's worked on Falling Skies.
But I bet Jeff Loeb has hooked him up. That's
yeah,
why.
Falling Skies season 4, Sleepy Hollow season 2, Heroes Reborn.
Oh no.
That's where this guy comes
So
from.
home hitters, all
Yeah.
home runs.
What the hell?
I'll tell you, there's two things you can do to make this show infinitely better. Okay,
Kill
one
Iron Fist.
would be recast Iron Fist. They're not going to do that though, but that's your one option. Number two, oath of silence. All right, like Iron Fist has some tragedy, like a whole season where he can't talk, and just see how good the show gets when you just don't let him talk.
I think the only thing that could save the show is to make it Daughters of the Dragon with Misty Knight and Colleen Wing, and I will watch that show.
I think from seeing all of these shows, the only thing is to kill them all off and let Kevin Feige reboot everything.
I agree. Yeah, that's the way to go, and that's the only thing
We just need reboots.
Yeah.
You mean the classic computer-generated animated television series?
Reboot? Yes, that.
There you go. Wait, isn't
The
that coming to
future
Netflix too?
looks so bright.
Oh, it's already on Netflix, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard actually really good things about Daredevil season 3. That it's sounding like it might be the best of any of them.
Ugh.
And I'm like, I don't know. Is it saying that?
That's a low bar. So.
I saw the teaser, and they're bringing back Kingpin, which was the best thing about it, and they're doing the Born Again story, which is one of Daredevil's best stories. But they're always thinking, so Born Again in the comics is a great story. They're going to do it too small. It's going to be like this damn Dark Phoenix movie they're doing. They're going to fuck up a perfectly good classic and make a low-rent version of it.
What was the best fight scene of any of these Netflix Marvel shows?
Besides the hallway scene.
Would we all just agree it's the hallway scene?
The Daredevil hallway fight is the best fight.
Yeah, because I think the first one's better than the Defenders hallway scene.
Yeah,
Yeah,
agreed.
like,
Daredevil's
even though that
hallway
was
fight
pretty
is
It's the only one that's memorable and sticks out to me.
Well,
yeah, what was the second best fight scene then?
Second best fight scene is Luke Cage going through the crack house to the sounds of Wu-Tang Clan.
Is it better than him in the Chinese restaurant fight scene?
Yeah.
Where he breaks that dude breaks his hand on his face?
Yeah, still better.
And then he roughs those dudes? I
Yeah.
thought those, I don't know.
It was good, but the Wu-Tang music kind of elevates that other one.
I do like the thing where they're fighting in the hole, the pit.
Right.
I do remember that one. That kind of sticks out, but that's like not as good as anything else.
I find just because of the lighting, it was hard. A lot of things were just obscured, and
Yeah.
it seemed like it was one of those. If we just make things hard to see, we can say that
We
cool
get
stuff
away with
happens.
so much stuff. Yeah.
I'm
Do you
like,
remember,
make
though-
things visible?
Do you remember thinking back, like Daredevil? We all really like season 1, and we're
Yeah.
like, oh well, and they're going to do Defenders. It's going to be great. Jessica Jones came out. We all
We're
liked
so optimistic.
all liked Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage came out, and we're like, this is pretty good, but it's kind of running along in the tooth. And then Iron Fist came out and just murdered everything.
Yeah.
And also as we went on, we just kind of realized, oh, I don't want to see this Defenders anymore. And then Defenders was a huge disappointment. Like, they had all the goodwill in the world, and they squandered it.
The Defenders made us the Defectors.
Yes.
It was the Defenders was just such a bad, poorly. It was all squandered, like you just said.
Yeah.
Everything in that thing was squandered. Like you had freaking what's her name?
You had Sigourney
Just-
Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver.
Oh,
and they
yes.
just threw her away. It was
Yeah.
like nothing. She did nothing to do in there.
So,
Why?
and the thing is, I will say this. I would watch Iron Fist Season 2 and Jessica Jones Season 2 and all that over another episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ever again. But we keep getting Patreon episodes, and so we are going to go back and watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. again soon.
EJ, why are you
Really?
doing this to us?
EJ hates us.
We don't want to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Why are you making us...
But it's
Hey,
coming in October, EJ.
And
It's
that's it.
coming.
We just want to say we appreciate your patronage.
Yes.
Patreon.com/.
You should just get on there and just make up stuff completely. Like, oh yeah, then Grant Ward did this.
We might. We're going to jump ahead to our next show, which is American Vandal Season 2.
Yeah.
So American Vandal kind of caught a lot of people by surprise last year because it was a year and a half ago.
Just like the Turd Burglar caught a lot of people by surprise with that lemonade.
Nice. Because they took the documentary style, sort of made it a mockumentary, but actually took it really earnestly and tried to make a serious documentary about something very lowbrow humor
Yeah.
about dick images.
And here's the thing, that it shouldn't have worked, and yet it was very funny, but also, like, it was a dead on version of those documentaries. Like you actually like got caught up in the twists and turns of the story. The writing is good.
They cast a lead
Yeah.
who was lovably an idiot who, in a way, you found yourself rooting for
Yep.
with Dylan, whatever the fuck his name was.
Yep.
He was just such a dummy that I'm just like, he's dumb, but I kind of want this guy to get away from it. What a great actor.
Yep.
And the two leads, the two investigating kids, Peter and Sam.
Yeah.
I liked how they portrayed the approach.
That was the smartest thing they did in season 2. We learned see how smart that was, bringing in the two filmmakers and making them part of the story. Let them do this story, like because we care about Peter and Sam, they can make them part of the story,
Okay.
and it works.
You know what was amazing to me?
what's that?
Is in the beginning of season 2, they do this sequence, which is about like 5 minutes or so in the first episode, where they have these guys talk about how their little documentary blew up,
Yep.
and they got a budget from Netflix that got picked up
And
for their
redid
first
it,
season,
yeah.
and redid it, and they showed side by side shots to basically still live in this world of plausible
To build on the fantasy of this
Believability.
world, and then
Right.
they had him talk to Trevor Noah on the Daily Show. Like it's very slick.
They said, like, look, when we made this, our animation was garbage, and they bumped everything up because it's Netflix,
Yeah.
which kind of justified the visual elements of the first season still living within this realm, and justifying why season 2 looks as good as it does.
And then the other notion, this played off of the Real World serial. Like they were like, well, we didn't know if we should do a season 2, but then we got all these propositions, like all these proposals, and they got dragged into the turd burglar thing. And it's such a fascinating way to do it because you buy the fiction of it. You're like, oh, this makes sense. This is what they would do next,
Right.
And also,
And it's number 2. It's
oh my God.
It's
Oh my
such
God, I hadn't even
lowbrow.
caught that.
It's number 2,
Oh my
second
God.
season. It's such lowbrow humor, and I'm like, now here's my thing, Kyle. You talked about how you started watching this, but you just couldn't do it because you can't do this type of humor.
I'm like zoning out even just listening to you guys talk
It's
about
so
it.
good.
Because I got about 15 minutes into this, and the inciting incident occurs.
Oh, it's pretty disturbing.
It's
And-
graphic.
Yeah, no,
gross.
it's like it makes you think of reading about like Steve Jobs having dysentery in India, but like that combined with World War Z.
The premise for any of you listeners who didn't watch this yet is that there's this incident at this northeastern high school
Prep school.
where someone spikes the lemonade at lunch with a laxative, and all of a sudden everyone is shitting everywhere across the school in the
Yep.
hallways and everywhere.
Yep.
People can't run to the bathroom fast enough. It's a shit apocalypse.
Yes.
And they don't know who's doing this, but this person continues to kind of terrorize the school and calls themselves the turd burglar.
Yep.
Like I said, it's shit humor.
Yep.
It's
And
lowbrow,
there are further incidents.
but they fully embrace this. Now Kyle texted us and he was like, "Guys, I can't."
So here's what I think is interesting. Their lead, Kevin, the guy who they had him admit it in the it was just like the first one. Like they had their suspect who they were sure had done. Like they show him confessing to the cops,
Right.
And this guy is as different from our previous protagonists as he could be. He's this sort of nerdy, smart, music-making kid. He's an outcast in a different
extremely
way.
pretentious,
Yeah.
except for also an idiot who's pretending he's smart.
Yeah, he's pretentious and dumb in a different way, which I
Right.
think was really important. You don't want to try and duplicate the same thing. And then they do this intricate web of all these people in the school could be responsible, and that it's a false accusation, and there's a cover up, and it was really engaging. Like I was legitimately invested in finding out who did it.
Right, me too. I'm the performances. The kid who plays basketball.
Yeah.
his
He's
performance
great.
was fantastic.
He's so good.
I was watching this show and my wife was like listening in while like doing work in the same room. She wasn't watching, and she was like, "Ugh." because it's a bunch of scatological humor.
Yeah,
Right?
oh, yeah.
But she was like, "Well, do you think that person did it?" And I was like, I looked at her and I'm like, "We're on episode 3, babe." No, what's
Yeah.
going to happen
Yeah.
is that we're going to find out it's not just one person, but it's probably two people
Yeah.
that conspired to do this.
Yeah.
A la Scream
The
or
Scream
something.
twist, yeah.
This is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And she was just like, "Okay." whatever. And then I was surprised by how it ends. It's great how this whole thing
twists and
ends.
turns are so good. The writing is so good on this.
Also, you know what? It took me a little bit to realize, but each of these episodes is only about 30 minutes or so.
Yeah.
So this is 8 or 10 episodes, and it watches pretty
it's
quickly.
a quick burn. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch this.
It's fun.
I honestly,
list.
I approached this and I was like, oh, I liked American Vandal. I guess I'll watch this. And I forgot how taken I was by the season 1, and I was just as taken with season 2.
What else?
It snuck up on me, just like laxatives in your lemonade does.
What else I love is that they actually take the examination of how kids nowadays use social media.
Yeah.
And they take it seriously, because I find that like a certain generation will look at like, oh, how kids use Snapchat or how kids use Yik Yak or whatever, I don't know.
Zim Zam, Blip Blap.
And they'll just kind of use it as an easy punchline. But here, it not only takes and uses it as like, this is a legitimate means of documenting things.
Yeah.
It's a legitimate means of expressing oneself. It's also a great capture way to investigate how some people capture things in time and use this as an investigative tool.
Yep.
Yeah.
But they also talk about the psychology behind this and the psychology of teens using these platforms to try and communicate and reach out.
Yeah.
And how this can be damaging, and they don't make a punchline of that aspect.
Yeah, no, you're
and
right.
That's something that I really appreciate. Like they say these are legitimate ways that kids are trying to talk to each other, and these can be exploited and abused, and these kids can be terrible to each other on these platforms. And there's something wonderful and terrible about this, and they don't flinch from that.
Well, and they also examine the nature of privilege, whether it's, rich privilege, white privilege, being a sports star in high school privilege. Like they examine the different
Classes and
the different classes and the different sociological levels of school, and I think that's fascinating. It's really, really well done.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect that from this type of show. So
Exactly.
By the way, Kyle.
You guys still talking about the poop show?
By the way, Kyle. Once you've had kids, you're going to get over that poop thing. You kind of have to.
Oh, poop doesn't matter. Your kid will shit in the shower, and you'll just have to wedge it down the drain with your toes.
You better you better get used to poop, dude. Because once you have kids,
man. Kyle's reaction reminds me of how I used to think about that. And now it's just like, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
no, it's just Tuesday. It's whatever.
Kids shit everywhere.
everywhere. Yep.
And you have to stop caring.
Yep.
Did you watch the first season at all? Did you like it?
Oh, love the first season.
Say it on my
I was asking
Yeah, no, I
Kyle
got
if he liked the
super
first season.
excited for season 2, but yeah, no, like the
Kyle,
Just
Poop
as a
scat, man.
scattergold
just
humor.
gotta power through. Just pretend it's your kid.
Okay. So we've been talking about a lot of shows. Normally I'd take a break, but we got 2 more. We're just going to plow through,
We've been
guys.
talking about a lot of shit.
We've been talking about a lot of shit.
You're just gonna plow through, just like you would if you had just taken a laxative out of lemonade.
Oh, man. I don't like your segues here, but we're moving into Atypical. Atypical is that show that Randy likes, and I think I didn't want to watch.
You're the
more.
only one who doesn't like it here.
I enjoy
It is-
it. It's fun.
yeah, this is a good show, man.
It's Asperger's aspartame. Aspartame. What is it? What's the term there?
Atypical is about a kid who is on the autism spectrum, and it is also about his family. So his mom, Jennifer Jason Leigh, his dad, played by Michael Rappaport, and his sister, played by Bridget Lundy Payne, all of whom are fantastic actors, as is Keir Gilchrist, who plays Sam. Like, it's a great family dynamic. And this doesn't just tell the story of Sam. This tells the story of his sister, of his family, of what it's like for his family to have to be in this relationship where basically he gets the lion's share of attention.
It turns out he's not the only one who's atypical.
No, he is. But
Although, actually, one of the fun things about this season is in season 1, the narration that took place in every episode took place in his therapist's office.
Yeah.
Well, spoilers for season 1, but after the events of season 1, he can't see that therapist anymore.
Right.
So the surrogate for this season, which I still think they did some narration from an office type thing. We'll talk about that in a second. But he gets into a group with other kids that have autism.
Yeah.
And I think it's the perfect progression to like take.
it was a genius move
Yeah.
because it allows you to see how autism affects different kids and how different kids are different. different, and that's really important. I have kind of a personal stake in this because I have a nephew with autism, but I also just find it really interesting. And the way they present it is really good. And the counselor in that group, Miss Whitaker, is played by Casey Wilson from Happy Endings.
Yeah.
And I love her, and she's great here. But I also think, like, I like how the story of his sister and her boyfriend, who's like the most decent guy ever and the most understanding guy ever, given what all he has to go through. And seeing her and her new sort of relationship at her school and that kind of thing, and how she doesn't get this attention from her parents because Sam gets all the attention.
Yeah.
She's a neurotypical kid. She doesn't need all that, but she does still need attention. And she's had her whole life. She has to basically defer to Sam when they do the episode about her birthday. It's all about Sam. And she's having a hard time, but it's all about Sam because he can't understand when it's about her. And the same thing with, the whole thing is going on with their mom and dad is because they've been all about this kid for all their lives. And so they've had to put their marriage on back burner. And that had some pretty dire consequences last season.
Yeah.
And I think they do a good job. I mean, I do think his mom is kind of presented as the bad guy in a lot of ways. But I think that the way that Michael Rappaport responds to it is also not great.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say, this season, they do this episode, you just mentioned it, the birthday party episode.
Yeah.
And, oh my gosh, I don't even know what you would call this trick, but in season 1, there's an infidelity. And just out of nowhere, to kind of show the viewer, like, he wants to get past this. Michael Rappaport's character wants to, like, trust his wife again, but he can't quit thinking about it.
Yeah.
He just turns to his left, and there's the guy standing right there. And it kind of knocks the breath out of you because it's the first time you see this character all season. You kind of assumed at this point that we weren't going to see him, but then you see him, and the episode gets even more bizarre. At one moment, he starts making out with the wife right in front of Michael Rappaport.
Yeah.
And he's just like, can't handle it. But it really gives you a sense of where he's at in his head, because like every chance he gets to kind of like move forward with his wife, he does, but it's just a hard place for him.
Yeah.
And the episode where they fix the hole in the wall, I thought was a really great way to kind of show that they're going to start healing and moving on together. No, this show gives everybody in this family like something to chew on.
Yeah.
I did notice with the sister last season and this season, all of her best friends do the most awful shit to her.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to pull the worst prank ever on you. You want to be my best friend now?
Well, and I think that's the thing is I think that she's been in this place where basically the way she interacts with Sam is by giving him a hard time. So that's her nature. Like, she needs someone to basically treat her badly, and it's kind of fucked up, and that's where her boyfriend relationship is. I think that's deliberate. I think that her boyfriend started off looking like this kind of skeevy older dude, and it turns out he's a decent guy, but that's not why she was attracted to him. She was attracted to him because she thought he was a skeevy older dude. Like, she is attracted to people who treat her badly, and then she will by mistake find people who will treat her better. And I think all that has to come with the fact that that's how she and Sam interact, and that's how she's internalized this whole thing where she's been number 2 her whole life. Back to number 2.
Somebody that we have to mention talking about this show is the character. Is it Azid or
Zahid?
Zahid's
the guy that works at the store.
Yeah,
that's
friend.
awesome. Yeah, I love that guy.
Zahid's great.
Well, and in season 1, he seemed like he was just kind of going to be this, I don't know, recurring joke.
Yeah.
But they gave him a bit more to do this season, where not only do we get to see some of his family life.
I loved the episode where we see his
family. Oh yeah. But also you get to kind of see that his friendship with what's Sam's name, the main character?
Sam is his name. Yeah.
Yeah, his friendship with Sam, it's genuine. Where you may be on the fence in the first season, like,
is he just making fun of this kid?
Right.
Yeah, why are you hanging out with him? No, like, you can see he's got some shit in his past, and, he's just as much a friend to Sam as Sam is to him.
And I love the way Zahid treats Sam in a way nobody else treats Sam. Everybody else treats Sam with kid gloves. Zahid knows Sam is different, but he doesn't treat him different. He talks to him like he's a regular friend.
Yeah, just a normal guy.
Yeah, and I think that Sam needs that, and I think that's one of the things. I also love the Paige and Sam relationship, because Paige, I'm not sure if we're supposed to think she's on the spectrum at all, but I feel like she is. I feel like she's like somewhere on the spectrum as well.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if we found out that she maybe had some other type of neuroses.
Yeah.
That because she's high functioning, but I don't know where they're going with that.
She might have had some trauma or something. But I don't know about on the spectrum.
Their whole their whole attempt to be casual and how he needs the rules, and then she makes the rules, but he is so rule oriented, and she's like a regular normal person would be. That you say what you want, but you don't actually say what you want because nobody's that honest in a relationship. Sam is like 100%. You tell me, I'll write it down. I will do exactly that and no different. And she needs the nuance, and that disconnect is really interesting.
Well, and what he learns as a man, even though he's learning it with his disability, but is that once he gets the rules, he's like, "Hey, this isn't that bad."
Yeah.
And as soon as she realizes that he doesn't think it's that bad, she not
doesn't
interested
want it anymore.
Yeah. Like had he just done that to begin with, he could have moved forward, which is what he wanted to do in the first place.
Yeah.
But this season,
this was better than season 1.
Yeah, and I think that it's building to something bigger. It's got legs. It's kind of early to say, but I do think it's like one of the better things on TV right now.
I agree. It's going to rank high on my end of year. What do you think about Amy Okuda's character, the therapist, still being involved? Because I like that she's there,
Julia.
But it's like it almost doesn't feel like she should be. Like her story is completely separate from them. And it feels like they're having to work to bring her back in. But I like her so much. I'm glad she's still there.
Yeah, it's like when shows do cameos of old characters, and you get kind of that warm fuzzy feeling.
Yeah,
they were sparing with her, but there was nothing for her to do this entire season. They did. Actually, I will say the episode where we find out about the voicemails was pretty cute. But besides that, not a lot. But great actress.
It's a great show.
Yeah.
Guys, are you ready to talk about Maniac?
Yes, let's talk about Maniac.
I think I gotta go for that one.
Okay, so do you need to step
out? Yeah, because I don't want to get spoiled. That's
you do not want to get spoiled.
Yeah. You guys have been pretty good about not spoiling everything.
Yeah, we're not trying to. And
I was trying to spoil everything.
I don't know how we can fully discuss this without at least having to go
some
into
things.
some stuff.
Yeah,
because it's a miniseries and it kind of advances with some big jumps and some. It gets kind of crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So if you want to step out,
yeah,
for a minute,
I'm gonna step out for that one. So.
And if you, dear listeners, would also like to step out
metaphorically,
yeah,
you don't actually have to go anywhere.
If you've only taken the A pill,
you can just pause the podcast. You don't actually have to step out anywhere.
Don't turn the podcast off either. Just keep listening.
Yeah. Just
hit forward a few times.
Yeah, if you just want to let it run and step out, you can do that too. That's fine. Okay.
Okay. So now Maniac is this brand new miniseries. It's got 10 episodes, I think.
Yes.
And it popped up on Netflix. This is created by Patrick Somerville. He was a writer on shows like The Bridge and one of the best shows ever on television.
Real Rob.
The Leftovers. The Leftovers. Don't say Real Rob.
Ew.
You and your tattoo and your Kyle can go fuck yourself.
You're going to have to get your bum tattoo.
Get a room with the Leftovers.
Patrick Somerville created this series, and Kerry Joji Fukunaga, who you might remember from directing the first season of
True
Detective, which everyone raved about because this guy's just a visionary.
Yep.
And he's also just been picked up to be the new Bond director.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, God.
Replacing Danny Boyle.
I never did watch his Beast of No Nation Netflix movie.
It was good.
I need to watch that at some point.
Anyway, he directed the whole miniseries here.
By the way, real quick, I want to say Patrick Somerville, the Leftovers episodes he wrote, one of them was The Book of Kevin, which is one of the best episodes.
Right. This starred Jonah Hill and Emma Stone as two depressed, lost people. And if I had to just best summarize what's going on here, these are two lost, really depressed people trying to figure out how to get over their grief in a bizarre alternate 80s society where they come into contact with a...
Do you think it's alternate 80s?
Well,
It is.
Let's talk about that for a moment.
There's space travel and stuff.
I
That's
actually
an alternate
think
80s, right?
I don't know.
No, so I was talking about this with somebody. I actually think they may be like further in the future, because two things about the future is that old stuff gets older.
Yeah.
So like things from the 80s will seem much older in the future, and poor people can only have like the old stuff. But then lost my train of thought. Wait, what was that? But then everything else, it speaks to like advancement in technology.
That's a good point though. But also like even things that should be super high tech and expensive, like the computer looks like a 60s mega computer, and the sensibilities of the of the whole facility is very 70s ish. Like
That's a
I think
good
it's I think it's a
70s
visual.
but 80s, like with the
Almost
computer
kind of
graphics,
like
Yeah.
Legion a bit.
I think it's a visual aesthetic more than it is a time. It's supposed to be in the future.
I felt like it's supposed to be in a reality that isn't our own.
Maybe so.
It's supposed
Yeah.
to be in an alternate reality where it's a little bit of a hodgepodge of retro and futuristic.
Yeah, well, they added some weird social media stuff like the hire a friend and the
That's
the
Ad
fake
buddy.
the ad buddy and all that kind of stuff. When I first started watching, I was like, oh, what is this going to be? And that stuff's window dressing.
Yeah,
But what I find that is pretty interesting, and it also kind of speaks to how they get themselves in this situation to begin with.
Right.
Once you kind of buy a world where like your attention is for sale, that you can
Yeah.
essentially just be a bum if you let people try to sell you all day.
Yeah.
Then people who would participate in this trial.
yeah. Well, let me take a step back, I guess.
Yes. Yeah,
Because
sorry.
just for the quick summary.
Yes.
These are really depressed people in this kind of bizarre alternate reality. And they come across a study being done by a pharmaceutical company, some little scientific company, and they both participate in this. He's coming from this background of wealth. She's coming from a more poor background where she lost her sister. He's got what's it called? Not paranoid.
He's got paranoid schizophrenia.
Paranoid schizophrenia.
Yeah.
She's got severe depression and she's drug abusing.
Yep.
And they go into the psychological study that's supposed to help them overcome this depression. They become kind of linked through this these mind meld scenarios.
They get
And
their wires crossed.
they literally get their wires crossed through this machine, and their mental delusions end up like intertwining. And
Yeah,
so
they experience a series of alternate realities, basically.
and we watch them go through these different realities, and it's kind of even like a love story, or like a romance.
It is a little bit, yeah.
Can I say that in fewer words?
Go ahead.
Yes.
This is if Wes Anderson did Inception.
Man, I would not
It's a
give
little
this.
bit-
I
it's-
would not give Wes Anderson this kind of credit.
It's a little Wes Anderson-y, though. I mean, it does have a little bit of that.
I did get a
It's
Michel
quirky,
Gondry vibe,
But
though.
it's all Michel Gondry.
I
It's
would say
also
Gondry more.
It's also Stanley Kubrick. It's also very much the guy who does Legion.
Oh yeah, Fuller.
No, not Fuller. Although
mean,
there's Brian Fuller in there
I
too.
feel like Wes Anderson is like take quirk and make everything symmetrical and make everyone awkward.
yeah,
and I didn't
no
find that
symmetry.
everything was symmetrical and everything was awkward. Like
Yeah.
like Wes Anderson does
I don't
ad
know.
nauseam.
Justin Theroux's character feels like he could easily have come out of a Wes Anderson movie.
Okay, that yeah.
In fact, so
How
does, and the
fun.
relationship between Justin Theroux
Yeah.
and Sally Field's character is a Wes Anderson type relationship.
Oh my gosh! But yeah, how fun was his character?
Oh, that
I
was
see you
great.
smiling, Grant.
I love him.
you loved it.
I love him. I loved his interaction with Dr. Izumi Fujita, which is
Yeah.
Sonoya Mizuna.
Where do I know her from? Anything?
I don't know. She's been popping up actually in a whole lot of different projects,
What is-
but it's a lot of stuff that I haven't seen. She's in Ex Machina.
Oh,
She's
okay.
in La La
Oh,
Land
yeah.
and Annihilation.
Oh, okay.
So she's been in a whole Crazy Rich Asians, Beauty and the Beast. She's been popping up
okay.
in a whole bunch of stuff.
I recognize her from Crazy Rich Asians. That's when I saw
I
her.
just haven't had a chance to like really attach her to a role.
Also,
in my mind.
while we're talking about the other stars, the girl who plays her sister, Julia Garner,
Is in everything.
Oh, yeah.
She's from. Well, I had not realized. I went to look on IMDb. I'm like, wait a minute,
The
is that-
Americans
I'm like,
and,
I'm like,
Ozark.
is that the girl from Ozark? And it is. And yeah, I'd forgotten that she also played that girl, the underage girl in The Americans, which was a pretty huge role.
Yeah.
I had forgotten that entirely.
And Jemima Kirk has a pretty notable role here. She's from Girls.
Yeah.
You guys might remember her.
Oh,
Gabriel
yeah.
Byrne playing the patriarch of the Milgram family is really good.
Oh, what is the brother's name?
Billy Magnuson.
Gosh, I just saw that guy in
He's
that movie
so
Game
good.
Night.
Yeah.
He's so
and
good,
He
isn't
was
he?
a big standout in that
Yeah.
movie. I was like, it's funny because normally I find this type of character annoying, but you understand the character so well, you're
Yeah.
able to juice it for like what's really funny about it.
He plays a douchebag.
Yeah.
And he does it. He also gets to kind of play a guy that isn't a douchebag, and it's fascinating watching him. He's just really good.
Yeah.
Well, and what's great is when you see, so this is getting a little bit into spoiler territory, but yeah, this actor who plays the brother, he plays two versions of the brother.
Yeah.
The version in real life and then also a delusion that only Jonah Hill's character can see. And in the beginning, we're skeptical of the delusional version of the brother, but towards the end, we find out that that's actually kind of like this other idea, this good version almost.
Can we talk about the various realities? Because I have to admit, when I first started, when I first started watching this, I was like, I liked the first two episodes well enough. The ones that show sort of like,
I found it pretty gripping. In like, you remember the show Love on Netflix?
Yeah.
It reminded me of that, and like we get a little bit of a setup from each of their perspectives of like how they end up crossing paths.
Yeah.
And like they both have these tragic backgrounds, right?
Yeah, I thought the brilliance of the first two episodes was that in the first episode's entirely from Jonah Hill's point of view, and it's weird. Like, we are seeing this from the point of view of somebody with schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting lines delivered from other actors, and we're hearing them the way that he hears them with the Freudian slips still in there.
Right.
But then, so I'm thinking the entire show's going to be like that. Then we get this Emma Stone episode, and she's just depressed.
Yeah.
So, like, things aren't crazy, and you realize, oh, no, like, he's legitimately crazy. She's legitimately depressed. And then just with the start of episode 3, kind of all the game pieces are on the board, and we can start,
and
getting
then
into
the doctor
story.
dies.
Yeah.
That was crazy unexpected.
The doctor dies, and then it basically becomes that movie Stay Tuned.
Yeah.
Remember that movie Stay Tuned with John Ritter, where they're trapped in these like rotating different TV shows? It's kind of like that.
That's what I thought was interesting, is that it starts with these 3 episodes, and I liked the 3 episodes, but I feel like the show doesn't get started till episode 4.
Yeah.
When we start to see the rotating realities.
I don't know. It's a mini series, so I don't know if like it. I mean, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the tone of the show, like it's all important, and I know why they did it the way they did it.
It doesn't hit its second act, quote unquote.
But when we get to the episode 4, and it's like they're in the 80s, and there's a whole thing with a lemur, and it feels like Fargo all of a sudden.
Right.
That's when I fell
Very
in love
Fargo,
with the show.
yeah.
Okay, there's my favorite part of this show was the most absurd, where Emma Stone and her sister are elves, and they're traveling across
God, yeah.
the Shire or whatever to Mordor to basically find this magical lake. And meanwhile, there's this gangster movie that Jonah Hill's stuck in.
Yep.
And he has to escape from there. He becomes an eagle.
Yep.
And or a hawk.
Yep.
He becomes a hawk, and he starts flying to her to try and rescue her. And he traverses dreamscapes or whatever, however you might term this. And he, as a hawk, is screaming, "It's me! I'm a hawk!
Yeah.
Hey, it's me! I'm a hawk!"
Yeah.
And then they show from her perspective, all she's hearing is him going. It was so absurd and hilarious, and like during like an otherwise like emotionally tense scene, it was so good to me. It's one of my favorite things I've seen on television this year.
Yeah. And then when we get to the tail end, and it's like the big alien spy thing, and he's playing this weird Swedish. Did that not feel like the crazy alternate realities from Leftovers? With like the dick measuring thing, and like it felt like that, and that was my favorite part of Leftovers.
And it also felt like Joji Fukunaga being able to take that one really remarkable scene where he did like a seamless scene in True Detective.
And he does that
was
shootout.
the shootout scene.
Yeah.
And he did the same thing here with Emma Stone as a protagonist.
yeah.
She roams through the hallways, picking off people, fighting people, and like just like the action sequence there was like twice the amount of length. And it was also just as compelling. It was really amazing to see.
Yeah. I also loved the weird like crime drama that develops where he's like this weird heir to a criminal family instead of his rich family.
James Franco from Spring Breakers.
Yeah.
With his grill and his gross
dreads.
his gross braids.
You know, people look at me and they don't think I'm smart. I'm smart.
The range that both of them got to go through, but in particular, Jonah Hill.
Yeah, Jonah Hill really shows his chops here.
Like Jonah Hill starts off as what seems like a very droll, boring, awkward character that we've seen him do in several iterations of projects. But then he ends up getting to tap into this bizarre, quirky foreign guy, this kind of thuggish dispassionate dude.
Yep.
This like hillbilly mullet bro dude. Like he gets
Reading
to
a
jump,
marriage book.
an actual hawk. He gets to like jump between all these different characters, and he does such a great job here.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, he's always had this range. If you look at him in Wolf of Wall Street and compare him to Superbad, it's a very different performance.
Yes.
He's always been undersold as an actor. I think because he was the jolly fat comedian guy, I think he got pigeonholed. And he really shows his range here, and he's great. And Emma Stone's always been great.
You know, one thing that I can't believe Jonah Hill has been able to live down? Have you guys seen Grandma's Boy?
Oh,
No.
I've heard like people always mention Grandma's Boy.
Okay,
about him. I
okay.
never
So
watched
it's
it.
remarkable for two things. One, if you want a good before picture for him losing weight, he is very large in Grandma's Boy. But two, the whole joke is he's this nerdy computer programmer at the party, and there's a porn star there. She walks up and says, "Baby wants some milk," takes her top off. We get a huge boobs scene. Jonah Hill starts sucking on her boobs, and through the entire party, he just has his face in her chest. The next morning, as they're cleaning up the party, she's sitting in the corner eating a bowl of cereal. Jonah Hill is still sucking on her boobs. For the entire party
And
scene,
that's all he does in the movie.
that's kind of his big moment in the movie, yeah. So I'm like, how do you have that in your reel or like, on your resume and get to Wolf of Wall Street?
Oh man, you've explained so much of why there's always Grandma Boy references around him, and I have never seen the movie.
It is way underrated. Like it's one of the because Happy Madison did it, but don't let that fool you. It's actually really funny.
Also, Sally Field was in this. and
Solid Field was great.
she's playing a psychotic, overbearing mom.
Yep.
Make out, mom.
And therapist. It's just creepy.
Yeah.
But also, she gets to play a range of different characters that this computer
Well, she's playing the computer
simulation
role,
has
yeah,
manifested. And yeah, it looks like she was having a lot of fun with it. She does such a great job.
Yeah.
I definitely love the computer character.
I think that this is a show that has polarized a lot of people, a lot of Netflix fans, and I found myself fully cemented on the side of loving this. This
Yeah.
is the type of genre television that I'm all about, and I just want to absorb. And other people just weren't about it.
I love that you mentioned Stay Tuned at the beginning of this because, well, I actually found out this is based off a foreign show.
Oh, yeah?
And apparently they didn't take the foreign show as seriously. So
Okay.
what they did is they actually used it as a way to like parody different TV shows, and like each episode would just be like a new adventure. But yeah, they're definitely doing something way more like cerebral with this. It's funny because I found myself comparing it to The Leftovers in a lot of ways, even though it just seems like such a different show.
Right.
But yeah, it's very thought-provoking.
Man,
Yeah.
not enough shows are being compared to either Leftovers or Stay Tuned. This is just hitting all the right spots for me.
What if Wes Anderson had done Stay Tuned with J.J. Abrams
Shut your mouth.
and David Lindelof?
It is listener question time. So if you guys like us on Facebook.com/TV Dudes, once a week, Randy puts up a post. He'll say, "Hey guys, what's up? How you guys doing? Do you guys want to ask us some questions? We're down for that. Make them TV related, preferably. If you don't, that's weird, but okay, we'll try and answer them anyway."
That's not what I post, but that is what I'm going to post from now on.
And Facebook.com/TV Dudes. That's where you guys can go and ask us whatever you want once a week. And we're going to try and answer those right now. First question comes to us from Michael Gassini, who says, Atypical is one of the most underrated shows on TV right now, in my opinion. The reason for this is that I feel it captures realistic family and friendship relationship dynamics better than any other show. What TV shows do you guys feel have the most relatable characters and plot lines? Maybe some that even mirror experiences that you guys have had.
That's a tough question because I feel like there are shows where I'm like, I relate to them, but I'm having trouble calling into the mind right now. Like most of the stuff I watch is escapist by nature.
Right. I'm like, I don't want to relate.
But you know what?
I don't want to watch someone else who also just has to like take care of their kids while trying to have podcasts.
You know what's interesting though? Better Call Saul actually has really relatable characters because I feel like they all act like real people. Like they're in extreme situations, but like the way that I think some people find Better Call Saul slow is that it does take its time for resentments to develop and character relationships and romances and friendships and the way that a brother relationship disintegrates. Like it takes some time to watch that go, and I feel like they take their time, they get their nuanced characters. And Breaking Bad was the same way. Like the situations are extreme, but the character stuff is very real.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like that show almost they show up each episode like, how do we make this episode really good? Yeah. And then the season arcs, they still end up being great because we got great episodes.
What about you, Marvin? Do you have a particular show that you relate to that you find like these are realistic characters?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of said it earlier. BoJack. I relate to it because I had a really crappy childhood. Like I'll say it here. If my dad accused me of trying to murder my stepmom, and it just blew into this whole bullshit thing.
Fuck, dude, that's heavy.
I was like 11 years old too, and I was like, so I didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
So I emotionally shut down for a long time.
Dad, what the fuck?
Yeah. Our relationship's never the same. Like he's here in Austin, he's on the other side of Austin, and I didn't even bother calling him or going to see him. It's just the kind of relationship we have now. So,
but that's interesting because I mean, BoJack is it's an animated show and it's got some exaggeration, but like I was saying about Saul, the situations are extreme, but the character stuff seems very...
And just seeing someone else going through something can I kind of like help push you along.
Yeah.
Like say there is some hope. There is some light at the end of this tunnel, even though...
I mean, that's interesting though. Yeah. Like when you watch BoJack, do you... Like a lot of... It seems, from my perspective, when I see BoJack and how he's coping with stuff, it seems that he's doing a lot of avoidance of certain things.
Yeah.
And he's kind of hiding behind certain veils and like abusing things. But
he's hiding behind all his vices to get through the...
But you also see some of the other characters constantly calling him out for it, and other people having to have a little bit more growth and experience. Like Todd, Todd seems to have to go through a lot of growth. The relationship between Mr. Peanut Butter and Diane, that you see the evolution there, and it seems like with BoJack, I get a good sense of like where he has to confront these things and at least discuss them, but it seems like him moving beyond them and growing
is never going to happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope eventually that's what they want to do because any storytelling device.
Yeah,
but when you see that, like, what resonates there for you?
I think it's just like I really understand what kind of crap he's going through, and I want to see him pull through because I feel like I pulled through all that. And so I'm kind of more or less rooting for him in his corner. Like, I'm not like, I'm not reliving it, but I'm more like, okay, yeah, life sucks and things happen, but you got to move on. And I kind of am rooting for him. It's different. I'm not like reveling in my own misery or anything. So.
Sure. Are you BoJack Horseman?
Yes. Yes, I'm drunk right now.
Other thing, I know that Les has trouble with watching some of the stuff like, Casual is one that he doesn't want to watch because it's just like human misery, and I feel like
so good though.
Casual is it's like that. Like they're all flawed people and they're all just kind of doing their best, and like I feel like I can relate to those characters even though they're in different situations, different worlds. But I think that's why some of those shows are kind of hard to watch, and some people find BoJack hard to watch for the same reason. Like a show that accurately captures what it's like to be human can be either boring or too hard to watch. And I think like Casual does that well too. I also want to say, it's disturbing to me is that I always related to Louis and Better Things.
Oh yeah.
Both of which are Louis's voice and the voice that he presented. And that was really disturbing to me because I'm like, he had some insights into sort of the way I think and the way I am. And I'm like, so you start to like
Second guess
question
yourself.
things. Yeah.
Well, no, my answer is kind of similar, but maybe with that.
Is it ballers, Kyle?
No, I was gonna. I think so. No, Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Because he always finds himself in situations where everybody thinks he's crazy, but to him, he's like, I'm not crazy, and you guys will see, like, he should apologize for not opening the door for me, or whatever it is that week. And I feel like that's how I relate to that every day. That's my life.
I would like to point out, Randy, that you also really identify with the Cosby Show.
It's very, I did love the,
And
Wait,
Jared
sweater right now.
Jared from the Subway commercials.
God,
You're
no,
always
past
talking about how
gold,
that's
do not
you.
collect $100.
Just any monster.
No, really, seriously though, I think that the worst thing about the thing with Louis was the realization of, like, I mean, obviously not the worst thing, but the realization that, like, oh man, this guy had a lot of insights and like he had to be at least somewhat self-aware of how bad the things he wore was doing, and he was still doing them.
I
and that
agree.
almost makes it worse.
Because I actually identify with Louis a lot too, and like I somehow feel bad for like identifying with him.
You feel bad
yeah.
for liking it,
Yeah.
because you feel like you were okay.
A part of it.
You feel like you were okay with what he did,
Right.
yeah.
I think the real tragedy here is that he's not a good guy, but he's also not a bad guy. And that's
he's a
that's
bad guy.
the hard thing to reckon. But the thing is, you're pointing out, like, he made good points and like he can. So there's obviously something about him that's insightful or is meaningful. And
But I
like,
think that
given.
makes him worse, not better.
No, you're absolutely right. Like,
Yeah.
it's so much easier when you're all bad or all good.
Yeah.
It's that
I see what Kyle's saying.
Yeah.
Though.
I
Like,
do too.
it's-
I do.
It's
Yeah.
tricky that someone is able to articulate and make a lot of us recognize our flaws.
Yeah.
And then also to call upon them and be like, but
You
your
got-
flaws are worse.
Right, your flaws are there and even worse.
We're not actually victimizing other people.
I mean, people talk about his insights were directly opposed to the things he did. Like, he had that bit that was a very feminist bit about women are afraid of men. And women should be afraid of men. Like, men are terrible and all that kind of thing. And at the same time, he
He's
was
over there
doing
doing
the
shit.
exact same thing. And you're like, how are you lack that
But
how
self-awareness?
screwed up is that? Because
Or he has more self-awareness and he knows how terrible people like
And
him
that
are.
makes
Yeah, that's
him
the thing.
worse.
He knows
Yeah.
the joke because he did it, like Cosby making Spanish fly jokes. Like,
Yeah.
of course he would make that
Right.
joke because he knows what Spanish fly is.
Yeah, and that's I mean, that makes it, you're like, does that make him more monstrous? I mean, it's pretty awful.
Yeah.
yeah. But those weren't all his jokes.
No.
My show was Joey. So that's Joey Tribbiani.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Not Friends.
Just Joey.
Just Joey.
Friends.
Alec Miracle says, dudes, I started Deadwood for the first time last week. What are your spoiler-free thoughts on the series? I plan on finishing it before its movie comes out. I'm only on episode 3 so far.
He's got like, what, 10 years before the movie comes out? So.
Dude, Deadwood is amazing. It
Yeah.
is such a great, gripping time capsule of a show that, like,
It's
is
Shakespeare by way of Sam Peckinpah.
and it's fucking gritty
It's so
as
good.
fuck, and the performances from everyone, like everyone was clamoring to be on that show because it's so good.
Yeah, I need to finish Deadwood. I got like 5 episodes in, and I know
It's
there's
just
2
gonna break your
seasons.
heart.
I know.
No, because the movie's going to happen.
everything's gonna break your heart.
The movie's going to happen.
I would say don't finish it until you get that movie, and then you at least
Have something to go off of.
then you get the happy ending.
I wouldn't
maybe.
expect a happy ending.
I wouldn't. Yeah,
But-
not with the way that show set up.
Yeah, I think my spoiler-free thoughts on Deadwood is it had some of the best production values. Like, it looked gritty and real and you know, dirty and all that kind of thing. The cast is amazing. They would occasionally do, because it's a not David Simon, it's a David Milch show, right? Isn't it him?
Yep.
Yeah. And so they would occasionally go off on little weird tangents where I'm like, why are we doing this?
You know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Milch is apparently going to be doing consulting work or collaboration on 3rd season of True Detective.
Really?
Huh.
Or at
That's
least that was
interesting.
the rumor a while back. I'm not sure if that's still true now.
That's right, that's
but I
right.
thought he got paired up with Bumblefuck McGee. I don't
Yeah.
remember his name. Anyway, those guys are going to be making the show together.
That show,
and-
that could be a train wreck, by the way.
Oh,
That's-
it could.
Because both those guys are self-indulgent.
Yeah,
It's Pizzolatto, Nick Pizzolatto.
But
by
make
the
sure
way.
yeah.
Milch has a bunch of cocaine and the dialogue's at least going to be on point.
Yeah. But yeah, Deadwood is, I think it's my favorite David Milch project.
Yeah, between that and what, John from Cincinnati and Luck?
He did NYPD
Barf.
Blue, right?
Oh,
Wasn't he
okay.
on? He was on NYPD Blue with Steven Bochco.
Okay. But it's not like solely him. There.
No.
Okay, our next question from Jonathan Huffnagel, I would like to say, says, full spoiler warnings for Castle Rock.
And we will get to it.
And we're going to say, we're not going to do that right now.
Yeah, I want to watch the rest of Castle Rock. I don't want to get spoiled. I'm curious to see Jonathan's question, but I just have not had time to finish Castle Rock.
We love you, buddy. We are behind on our homework. We're going to get to that show in a week or two. And when we do, either ask us that question again.
Or just remind us every week. By the way, what about Castle Rock?
Yeah, you could do that. That's actually the better call than me saying, oh, I'll totally get back to that. Because
we will forget.
I won't.
Yeah, just say, by the way, what about Castle Rock every week? Eventually we'll remember and get to it.
Okay, Zach McLernan does say, though, the TV dudes are stuck on Purge Night in Austin with Frank Castle.
Dun, dun, dun.
Fully armed, by the way. And the Netflix version of Frank Castle. And the gang from... Okay. I did not read this beforehand. Okay, so the TV dudes are stuck on Purge Night with Frank Castle and the gang of It's Always Sunny.
Including the
we're all
waitress.
dead. We're all dead.
Including the waitress. What do you do to survive, and who do you think doesn't make it?
I try to cozy up to Frank Castle and convince him to kill the entire gang before they get us all murdered.
No. I feel like in this scenario, Frank Castle dies in the first 5 minutes.
Oh, I can see that.
Like
happening,
something
too.
You
happens.
think other Frank shoots him with his gun? He's like, he was
I bet
packing.
it
out of nowhere.
He just kills him. And he's like, he was packing.
That could
Is
happen.
he Steven Seagal in the executive decision?
Yes,
He
I think-
probably drops his gun and it ricochet fires and hits him right in the head or something.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think in this scenario, Frank Castle is the Steven Seagal ringer.
Dude, bullshit. Okay. I would just hang out with Frank Castle because Frank Castle is not a human. He's a force of nature in all his iterations. And so wherever he goes, he's just going to kill everyone. And I would just be like Quado
Just dim
hanging out
behind
in his
him, yeah.
shirt and clinging onto his body like a koala. And be like, go, buddy, murder away.
I don't know. You're putting the precise tactical power of Frank Castle against the utter screw
Bumfuckery.
everyone who is not them power of the gang, and no one who's run into the gang from Always Sunny has ever come out better.
You don't think that he would kill them immediately?
No, I don't think
they would be like, hey, we're going to play this drinking game. He'd just make dead. All of you dead.
No, I think he would be unable to do it. I think something just like whenever anyone competent enters their orbit, they always fuck up their lives.
D would be like, what are all these paper clips in your grenades?
Yeah.
Right.
Something would happen where they
gonna
would accidentally kill Frank.
I'm gonna tack on a mini question.
Bad rum ham.
If you needed,
Bad rum ham.
if you needed a surrogate Patties to like hold up in for this night, what bar do you pick in Austin?
Oh, a surrogate Patties?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't go to shitty bars like that.
I don't know any bars
Draft
in Austin.
House. The horse.
The Alamo Draft House?
Yeah.
Yeah, even though
Not
there's no way to
Alamo,
fortify
but
that,
yeah,
it would just
yeah.
have good beer.
Yeah, draft force could be it.
That's the problem with bars here. Not a lot of heavy doors.
You know, Maggie Mays has like an upper position you could get up there and
That place caught on fire last year.
yeah. Okay, that's
Oh,
probably
yeah,
not great
right.
then.
Yeah.
Okay, last question, guys. Unless Marvin, did you have any more to add? About, like, who would you do?
Oh, I would probably die right away because it's the gang. I mean, I just know what would happen.
You're also down on the gang. They're going to get
I mean,
everyone
I
killed.
love the gang, but they would definitely kill me for sure.
They're hanging out with a killing machine.
Last question, guys. And we might have to at least backtrack a little bit on what we said on Iron Fist regarding this.
What?
Daniel
No,
Uvaldo
never.
says, regarding Iron Fist, are there any other shows that get better after the show gets hijacked from the main character? Which makes me think, did Colleen Wing inherit that show in the second part of that season?
I've heard that she gets a bigger role, but I
because
don't know.
that might make it better.
Yeah, but it's still there's so much else better
Right,
to watch.
you still got to watch Iron Fist to get to that
He's
part.
still there.
It's still there. Are there other shows where someone else is taking? I mean, here's a weird one. Just talking about today, I think BoJack is the least interesting character of BoJack Horseman.
No.
No, you don't think so?
No.
I love all the episodes. Like
I think
loved-
he's the crux. I mean, he is what everyone else is circling.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm always more interested to see what's up with Diane or
Princess
Princess Carolyn.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Oh, not at all. Like,
I'd like to see Vincent Adultman come back for just an episode.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I miss that guy.
Yeah.
he's the biggest tragic pain point, and I absolutely
no.
need
It's
him
not that I
there.
don't like him, but I find the other characters more compelling in general.
There's got to be a show that I just can't fully think about right now where
It's lost.
where the main character, gets usurped, right?
I mean, don't you think that Lost? I mean, Jack did kind of get usurped a little bit by Sawyer and
No.
and Ben. You don't think so?
No, I mean they rotate all. They had an ensemble cast. They rotated through people, but Jack was always the fearless leader, and I think that stayed fairly consistent throughout the season.
Okay, all right.
Series. So no, fuck off.
I bow to your knowledge of Lost.
Damon Lindelof is best.
I'm trying to think of shows that I love. I mean, I know this has happened.
Right. I mean, for some, I think we always talk about Parks and Rec, and I think about the main dude in the first season. That guy like just dropped.
Oh, Mark Brandanowitz.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Brandanowitz.
like, once he was out of the picture, the show became so much better. It really
seemed
did.
like they wanted to kind of bank on that guy a bit, and then they're like, oh, he's boring.
Yeah.
Orange is the New Black.
Oh yeah, what's her face?
Piper.
Like, once they get her out of
when
there.
when it became more about the other characters than Piper, the show got much better.
But it's not a show where like she was the lead. I mean,
But she was the lead in the
first
opening
two
part.
seasons.
Yeah.
I feel like Les would probably bring up that one show where they dropped the lead woman, Valerie Burnett or something, and they made the new Hogan's Family off of the spinoff.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking
In the
about.
second
Yeah.
season, and that like you could talk about like Roseanne.
Oh, yeah,
and
there
like
you go.
once you drop Roseanne, everyone else is out of the shadow of her racist specter.
Yeah, it could actually be good. It might.
Yeah.
Maybe. There's a slim possibility that it'll be good.
Yeah. What show do you guys kind of not like that you think, oh, drop that main character and maybe that'll get better?
I don't know because I don't remember what shows I don't like.
Iron Fist.
Yeah, I would say Iron Fist for sure.
I mean, of course it's got to be Iron Fist. Daniel just brought up the perfect example.
I mean, The Walking Dead's about to do it. They're about to get rid of Rick. And, like, I don't care. I don't watch Walking Dead.
Yeah,
But, like, I don't think anything can be back to that show at all, ever.
yeah.
Right. All right, guys. I guess let's wrap it up there.
Yep.
We covered a fuck ton of. I mean,
I'm like-
shit ton, nope. Language.
No, you said a
shit
shit ton is appropriate.
A big ton of Netflix shows.
A Netflix ton.
Yeah, we're kid friendly.
Yeah, we
Yes.
definitely have. That's why our
Yes.
title is includes the F-bomb.
Yeah.
By the way, next week there are like 8 or 10 pilots and a full season of the Amazon show.
Oh, well.
Hey, Marvin, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
on
thanks
this
for inviting
episode.
me. That's great.
Anything you want to plug, or I don't know?
I don't even think to plug quite yet, but I am working on a project that I'd like to let you know about in the future. So
Yeah, just let us know. And yeah, it was awesome that you were able to come out. Which, by the way, hey listeners, if ever you're in town in Austin, go ahead and hit us up. You can either hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. You guys can email me. What is it? Grant at permanentrecord.com, RCRD. Or you can email me at admin@thetvdudes.com.
They can also pay to ask us questions at patreon.com. You just give us your credit card number, and then you're able to ask a question, and we sometimes respond, especially when there's money associated.
But if
No
you
guarantee.
ask us to cover Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we're going to go, we got to do some homework.
We'll take our time.
Someone is going to pay $20 to make us watch Real Rob.
it's going to
Oh,
happen.
man.
It
No.
might be me.
You know my secret? I've already seen Real Rob.
Well, yeah, you guys are recording the show. So.
We need to up how much someone needs to pay us to watch that shit. Folks, we appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in this week, and we will be back next week to talk about
100 million shows.
So many more shows. I'm so tired already thinking about it, but you know what? This is a job I love.
Question mark?
And we'll be back until next week.
DVD's out.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.